Good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome to the Reel McCoy. I'm your host. Oh my, I fucked it immediately.
Already.
I'm your host, Meffistoe, and always with me, my hetero life mate, Oh My Feelings. Good evening to you, sir.
The streak continues.
The streak continues. The Bambino curse lives within me. What is the Reel McCoy, you ask? The Reel McCoy is your weekly movie podcast where we ask you to go watch a movie. You watch it, come back to us, and we break it down, geek on it, and throw it off the cliff and stick it on the wall. Because, oh shit, it is spooky time. It is October. We're celebrating Halloween. Or you guys are celebrating Halloween. We had our Halloween like in March, so we don't care.
Wait, there's a second Halloween?
No, Jewish Halloween.
You know what? That counts for me.
No. well, we have a tradition. Us Jews celebrate everybody's good stuff. We never celebrate the bad stuff. Yeah. So we have Thanksgiving stuff. We have like Christmas stuff, but you know, it's all a reason for a celebration. Right. Enough with that shit. Right. We ask you out there to go watch It Follows. And in accordance with It Follows, we have got Horror Amorata to join us. Hi.
I
have to say, first VTuber on our show, and
yes,
I love it. First VTuber on the show, and what a lovely Cthulhu unicorn you are. Amazing. We ask you to go watch It Follows. How many times this week you've watched this? Oh, my feelings. Yabba dabba do. Holy hell.
I love this movie.
I get it. I may not love this just as much as you. I only did it twice. Oh, technically 3 times. But it's a weird one. It's a first time for me. So it's not the first time for Amorata. You said you skimmed it today. and
Yeah,
but you've watched this before, so
yeah. It's been
kinda,
a while, which is why I had to skim it. So
yeah, that's fine. It's cool. We kind of had a podcast where we had a guest that has never watched the movie
before.
ever,
Yeah.
never heard of it before. He just said it's gonna be a fun show. Let me come on. It's
hey.
you might know him. It's Abomination AJ.
Oh, I love Abomination AJ. Yeah.
Yeah, he's a cool cat. He's a cool cat. He just can't find the time to join us. I literally have him on
Oh.
DM. It's like, cool, bro. I'm gonna join you guys. I can't.
Yep.
It's fine.
So
Right.
that's the way it works. It's all right.
Before we really dive into the show, if you want to interact with the show, you want to send me suggestions, all that stuff, you can go on Twitter at Meffistoe. You can at Meffistoe79 on Instagram. I check my messages there. Don't really use it because, it's Instagram and I'm old. You can email the show at the Reel McCoy podcast at gmail.com. And of course, you can check out Horror Amorata on Twitter at H Amorata. You can check out her Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Horror Amorata. And she has a Rumble channel as well. So you can definitely go and follow her on Rumble, rumble.com/C/Horror Amorata Gaming. You do only gaming stuff?
Not really, but I was stumped for a channel name at the time, so I
Oh, yeah.
seemed
I've
easy
heard-
enough to just tack gaming on the end. Wasn't
That'll
really
work.
creative that
It's a
way.
catch-all.
Technically, that's how I got my channel name on YouTube. So Mephisto Movie Reviews. I kind of hate that name. I would rather just leave it as Mephisto and be done with it. And
Yeah.
maybe I'll change it in the future. For now, it's it is what it is.
That's how I felt about my cat channel name. I just wanted to be Horror Amorata because it's just easier across everything. But no.
Yeah. Yeah, for me too. It's like Mephisto, like everywhere, and it's written so phonetically and so weird. It's like, yes. Anybody who asks my name, I always say it's like it depends. If you're a gamer or a comic book guy, and like either in these camps, it's either the guy from Marvel Mephisto or the penultimate boss in Diablo 2. And it's always like, oh, that Mephisto. Okay, I got it. No problem. Cool. We have before we dive into the movie itself, we have a small little segment called Behind the Screens, where we defer to All My Feelings and have the lowdown on everything behind the scenes.
Production take 2.
See, I fucked it up again. That's the wrong stinger.
That's the Reanimator one.
Production take 2.
I'm gonna be like this
we're real
all night. I'm gonna be like this.
I thought you did it on purpose because you wanted 2 takes.
Yeah, technically it worked well, but no. Yeah, the other one is for Reanimator, which is next week. By the way, I seen it today after I haven't seen it in a long time. Jeffrey Combs is God tier.
I knew you'd love it.
He is God tier.
Yeah.
Right.
So moving on
go ahead.
It Follows. So David Mitchell wrote the original script based off of dreams, that recurring nightmares that he had as a child about something that was constantly chasing him.
Okay.
The entire concept of it being sexually transmitted was only added later as a means for it to continue hunting.
Okay.
Because without it, it was basically just, it would be a 15-minute film.
Yeah.
Or a really long 72-minute film.
Yeah, that would be very, very, very drawn out.
It could be done.
It could be done. Perhaps the most impressive thing about this was it only had a $1.3 million budget.
Really? That much?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. But $23.3 million gross. Theatrical gross.
Really? That's a lot.
Yeah.
It's a good return on investment.
Did very well.
Good.
Very well.
To be fair, we before we continue, there were lots of these horror movies that were done on a shoestring budget that blew up throughout just the movies that we covered.
Yeah.
Texas Chainsaw Massacre that we covered, like all of them that we covered this time, like Child's Play as well. Everything made
Well,
bunkload
the
of
fact
money.
that like Nightmare on Elm Street, Dream Warriors,
Yeah.
that's what reinvigorated the entire franchise, making it so they were going to make more Nightmare on Elm Streets, as we discussed before. Yeah.
Yeah.
A
No,
lot of these were
realistically, it's easy to do that with horror. So
exactly.
Not every horror movie does that, but it's just it came out that
a lot.
this month, everything that we picked so far, I'm dying to know what's going to be in Reanimator. But so far, every single movie that we picked was done at a very low budget, and it kind of caused like a resurgence and made a ton of money.
Nice.
All right. Sorry to derail you.
Oh, that's all right. So Mitchell refused to actually divulge what he was working on while writing the script and in pre-production, because he thought the entire premise was too ludicrous and people would laugh at him.
Okay.
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 Yeah.
That's weird.
If you notice throughout the film, the concept of time keeps changing.
Yes. Yes, I did notice that.
And it's kept ambiguous at best to emphasize the dreamlike state, referring back to Mitchell's entire original premise of it being based off of his recurring nightmares. Because if you notice, all of the technology is wantonly different from scene to scene. So is
Yes.
the attire
Yeah, I
that
noticed
they
that.
wear.
Yes. Yeah. We'll dive into that more when we get
Yes.
to specific scenes.
Originally, it was actually supposed to be a video on demand, or a VOD,
Yeah.
and a theatrical release simultaneously. But once some of the original executive producers actually saw the first cut of the film, they decided to actually pull the VOD concept off
So
and
they'll
make it a
have
full theatrical release first.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Nice.
Again, this is 2014. We
Mhm.
basically just have Netflix streaming,
Mhm.
right? HBO Max hasn't started, or whatever it was before. It
HBO
was
Max
HBO
didn't
Max.
even exist yet. It was still just HBO.
I think you had Netflix and Hulu at the time.
Hulu.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah. And Prime?
Voodoo.
No, Prime wasn't there. 'Cause
Prime existed, but it didn't have its own video content yet.
Yes,
Right.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Okay. Next.
It's I don't know if you recognize the poem that Jay's English teacher is reading.
I
About
recognized it, but I didn't
Lazarus.
remember.
It's about
Yes.
Lazarus.
It's Lazarus, yes.
Yeah.
About
Kinda
the
remem-
creeping death, which is
Yeah.
actually, that's T.S. Eliot, the love song of J. Alfred Prufrock.
That's
That
why I was familiar.
ties into this is a weird alliteration, but a lot of literary critiques are done between utilizing that poem and the critique of the other major piece of actual literary work that is constantly referenced in the film, which is The Idiot by Dostoevsky.
Yeah. Okay.
Yara is reading it at the beginning, and then she reads it, a piece of it, while they're sitting outside, and she reads a bit of it at the end of the film.
Yeah, when she's
Right.
at the hospital, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And what's funny is she mentions the line where it says, "What are you reading? The Idiot. Is it any good? I don't know. I haven't finished it yet."
Yeah.
She's actually reading the end of The Idiot in the hospital scene.
Okay. I got it.
You like setup and payoff, Smith.
I got it. It's like some of the things I couldn't catch, and throughout the first and second viewing, I knew I was missing a few things.
Mm-hmm.
I knew I was missing a few things. So yeah, I get it. Okay.
And
okay.
I don't know if you could tell by the wide angle shots and especially the soundtrack, which, by the way, oh my God, the soundtrack is so good.
My boyfriend was actually saying that.
I'm on the fence. I'm on the fence on that.
Disaster Piece modeled it after Carpenter's work, and all the framing and zoom shots were also based heavily off of Carpenter's work.
Yeah,
because Mitchell was such a giant fan of Carpenter. If you notice that Jamie is a tribute to Jamie Lee Curtis. Annie, the first victim of it.
Yes, is the name of her character, right?
No,
No.
Annie was actually one of Laurie's friends in the original Halloween that
Oh,
gets murdered.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was. Yeah, I mixed up the Laurie and Annie. Never mind.
Yeah. And the other big one before we get into it, because there's a whole bunch of other notes that we can just go through over
Yeah, no
reviewing the
worries.
film. The colors pink and red are extremely important throughout the film. If you'll notice, you'll see a red flash, or the entity itself, whoever it's inhabiting, will
Mhm.
be in a pale, like, will be dressed in pink or red, or some kind of pink or red, or there'll be a red light around them or a pink light around them.
Okay. Okay. I noticed the pink, but mostly on Jay. But I thought it was like, oh, she's a girl, I guess. Otherwise, that's the stuff that I didn't quite notice.
And
But
the
okay.
tie-in at the end, it all ties together with the blood, because if you notice the entity in the pool, the blood is
Yes.
actually going toward Jay.
Yes,
Her.
toward Jay.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Cool. So it kind of starts off with a weird little scene of a woman she's a like a young girl running around, going in and out of her house, being chased by something that we don't see.
Mhm.
I it's really
Which,
hard to pinpoint exactly the moment, but yeah,
mhm.
she comes out of the house, she goes around the neighborhood, people are looking at her,
Well, even her
and
father is stopping her, asking her, "Are you okay? What's
yeah,
going on? What's going on?" He's like, "I have to leave. I have to run. I have to go. I have to go now."
and
What's
then she
I thought was a brilliant move by Mitchell was making it so only the victim, or potential victim, could see the entity itself, making it
Mm-hmm.
so, like, it still has that inherent dread and horror behind it, the thrilling aspect of someone being chased by something that's trying to actively kill them,
yeah.
without actually having to show what this monster is. Like,
I
Yeah,
really
it's a
liked that
brilliant. Sorry, Amara.
that he kind of gave her the self-awareness to when people were asking, like her father asks, "Are you okay?" And she goes, "Yeah, Dad, I'm fine." And despite the fact you can tell she's obviously not fine,
Mhm.
that actually gave it a really good kind of suspense feeling in that moment.
Mhm.
yeah, that's that sense of dread of the unknown kind of works. To me, it actually, again, not being a horror guy, that hooked me in. Like hook, line, and sinker. That little, it's like a 5 minute a 5 minute intro or a 3 minute intro where there's no nothing. You're just straight up in in the movie. It lands you. There's scary kind of atmosphere. There's some like fear of the unknown. You don't see it.
Mhm.
You think it's there, but it's not there. And then she's off to the beach where she talks to a machine, or she doesn't talk to anybody. She just leaves a message.
Yeah, for her
And you're
father.
like, okay, this girl is dead, but I want to see what happens. And then it cuts away, and then it cuts back, and she's like in pieces. I was like, oh shit, let's go. It's like, okay, that little intro is is my hook into the movie. And I'm guessing a lot of people's hook.
Yeah. What's interesting about that too is in the original script, there were several more deaths and they were extremely more graphic
The thing is, her death is way more graphic than any other death in this movie.
than Greg, because there's only really two deaths. It's
Yeah,
Yeah.
Annie and Greg.
yeah. But like it shocks you immediately. And as you said, I didn't notice it before, but yeah, YouTube, relax. We're not endorsing violence. Okay? She has red shoes on.
Hmm.
Mhm.
She has red shoes on. I didn't notice that. Okay. I get it. Okay. Uh moving on. So we're at the house. No. Yes, we're at the house where Jay is taking a swim, and the two boys in the neighborhood are trying to, look and
Beacon
take a
on
look,
her.
but which is, creepy, but It's
No.
12-year-old boys looking
Yeah.
at a 16-year-old girl. Kind of, I would say normal, but 12-year-old boys. Um, I mean, in today is literally she is Amaranth.
If only she had a camera and knew how to monetize it.
Yeah, really.
Exactly. I mean, she knows that they're there. She's not even saying anything. She
Well-
knows that they're there.
Well, she
To
does
that-
go, I see you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
To that point, Amorata, I mean, that would be one hell of a stream if it caught her on stream.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yes. Right. So we go back to the house. We get introduced to the sister. That's Yara. She's the sister or not?
She's just a friend.
She's just a friend. I think at the
Like Biz Marquee said.
I think in the credits I was looking for two, like Jay has a last name. I don't remember it, but Jay has a last name. Her sister has a last name, and Yara's got like a different name. And I was like, I was dead sure she was the sister, but it threw me off because she said when I was 16. I was like, all of these girls look fucking 16. There's no way. Like,
well, the thing is actually, I mean, the characters' ages essentially. Jay is actually 21. So is Hugh or Jeff.
yeah.
Her sister Kelly is a year younger than her. Paul is the same age, so Paul is also 21. Yara, I believe, is also 20 or 21. So they're at the very very, very young 20s where it's almost impossible to say for are you a teenager or are you an adult?
So the school scene, it seems to me like a high school. So you're saying that's a college?
Yeah.
Okay.
I thought it was a high school because she was wearing that jacket. I mean, and they were looking at an old yearbook.
No, they went to Jeff's old high school to find out
Yeah.
where he was, to find out his information.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. That may be confusing. So they're watching an old movie. Now, I did pull up 2 days ago the names of the movies, but you probably have it written down. One of them is the giant crab or the giant claw, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, the giant claw.
The other one is
it's something in the Martians. I can't remember.
Yes, it's like an old sci-fi Martian invasion kind of movie. It has
something
that
they would show on Mystery Science Theater 3000. 1000%. Yeah.
It seems to me that it's weird that 20-year-olds or even 17-year-olds that I thought they were 17-year-olds or 18-year-olds watching an old horror movie. I mean, it doesn't really fit with that particular generation.
Well, it's funny. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead.
It's funny because it initially, when you're looking at the original, the first girl and she's using the cell phone, and this goes back to what you were talking about with the whole time thing. And then you switch into that where she comes into the living room. My first thought was, is this in the 1960s? Because, the whole decor and even their dress, and to a degree, the film, the actual, cinematography itself. So at that point, it kind of makes sense that they'd be watching that kind of old movie because they'd be back in that type of period, even though, obviously they're not. So, and then there's, I thought there was an interesting thematic part with that one movie, the guy's talking about the electricity, and then you get to the end.
Yeah. Overloaded. Yeah.
Overloaded.
Yeah.
Yep.
To me, it seems like it was set sort of like in 80s-ish. Like their cars were 80s-ish. Some of them
funny,
were.
That's why the time concept is so ambiguous, because it's actually shown the dilapidation of modern Detroit.
Yes, and that was like as soon
but
as
it's
they
juxtaposed with the themes and the attire and the technology and the media that they're previewing, and also when Hugh and Jay go on their date and they go to the movie theater, there's a live organ player in the theater.
Yes, and I was like, live organ player even in the 60s, that's not even supposed to be there at all. It's like maybe it's one of those theaters where this is like everything is new, but inside they're trying to do some sort of a themed theater where they're trying to give some sort of a different experience, but it
Oh,
just didn't sit well. So small little bits didn't really sit well. Like
it
the
seemed to me like they
conversation
were
that they have here is like
mm,
weird.
weird.
Yeah.
Yeah. But it seemed to me they were going to like one of those old black and white theaters. You don't find them in
Mhm.
many places anymore, but it's
Yeah.
like they were going on a theme date to a old theater because maybe they're interested in that shit.
Like
Yep.
Amorata, like to that point, like the old theaters that still show like Rocky Horror Picture Show and do the
Uh-huh.
whole big theatrical numbers and everything on Halloween.
Right.
Those kind of theaters, they're very far, they're few and far between. And even like the old Marquee that's up there,
Yeah, Cary
that's
Grant, Audrey
yeah.
Hepburn.
Yep. I just, this is after they walk out. They have that little conversation where she
And
wants him
did you
to.
notice what's his shirt color, Meph?
Oh, yeah, it's red and her dress is pink. Yeah. Like I said, on her, I noticed that she's wearing not all pink all the time, but she has items. So her bra and panties are pink later on. She has a pink sash sometimes. I think her swimsuit has a like a an like an 80s style. It's one color, but the accent is like on the side is, I think it was pink. I'm not sure. If I think about it, maybe I'll find some more reference in, and I'll probably will. But
I was gonna say
I,
the one thing that's really important about that scene though is the game that they play.
the game, that weird little
Yeah.
game.
It's just that the game there, the fact that he's already showing that there is something that's deeply concerningly wrong with him. Whereas, like, imagine being a child again and being able to redo your entire life, where
Hmm.
he's giving away hints that something is not quite right. Then when they're sitting down, the when he's like, "Well, I know who you'd pick," it's like the girl in the yellow dress. Are you teasing me? He's like, we have to go now because she
Hmm.
can't see the entity. Only he can at this
Yes,
point. And
yes,
it's setting up the whole premise of, oh, the thing why Annie was running around panicked because
Ye-
something was after her that only she could see.
yeah. But there, I haven't made for me again. First viewing, didn't make the connection
Mhm.
immediately. It seems like he was worried about something that is not there, and I was like, she kind of mentions like an ex girlfriend. I was like, oh yeah, they tried to throw you off, but when they walk out, he's still a little
Yep.
bit too concerned for just a girlfriend or an ex-girlfriend, right?
Yeah.
Um
And then they do go to the diner, and the diner scene, if you notice, in the background, there is a red light being cast down, and there's someone slowly walking toward them.
Hmm.
yes, yes.
God, this movie's so good. Sorry, Emerald, I'm gonna gush over this movie. I love it so
Don't
much.
You're
don't worry about
fine.
it.
We'll get to the points where I say my stuff eventually. So
All right, cool. So they have that little the diner place. Then they go for a rump in the hay, even though it's in the car. By the way, they were here, but they thought, well, a better place to have sex is in the car, where everybody knows that's a little bit uncomfortable. A little bit. Let me flash forward, and then he chloroforms her completely. He's like, the sex was good. Now you need to sleep, bitch. I mean, hello. And then she wakes up and
I do a chair.
yeah, into a
Yep.
chair where he goes bananas. And we don't actually know why, but we start to piece things together. Again, pink bra, panties, all that stuff. And he tells her, well, there's something chasing me. You'll see it too. Remember, when you see it, you need to outrun it. And she's like, what the fuck are you talking about? And then he says, well, let me show you. He wheels
Yeah.
her off to the edge, and then she sees the first entity. It's basically the naked her. You don't
No, it's
actually.
just a naked woman. That's all it is.
Looked like a naked
It,
older woman, not
It is.
old, but
it
older.
looks like a naked older woman. It's actually her. Yes, it's that actress's name, Maika something.
Oh,
Yep. Because they dyed her hair, or she either wears her wig, and she's filmed from way far away, so you don't actually get to see the features, but it actually is her. Why they did that, don't know.
saved
But
money
it
in
is her.
casting.
Yeah.
Well, they did cast a few other naked ladies to chase people and to kill people. So then he drives her home and he throws her off the car and drives off, never to be
Yelling,
seen
"Don't let it
again.
touch you."
Yeah.
Yep.
But he does explain, it's like, just keep running. He does say, keep running, so it won't be able to get you.
And I think one of the first things that's most important that he does set up to her as well is the fact that it could look like anyone. It could use loved ones to manipulate you.
Yes. Yes, he does. He goes through every single thing that he goes through a little bit later, but with more of a rush tone, right? So he's like, do this, don't do this, do that, do this, do this. Don't let it kill you. And then he just throws it off the car and he leaves. Where the police comes in, of course, her sister and her friend are outside just playing cards or whatever they're playing. And immediately cops show up. I love the fact that in horror movies, everything is a go, 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 go. I love the fact that it's about 90 minutes ish. It's like 93, right?
Mhm.
Runtime. And it's go, go, go. And I love that because the storytelling is more concise, even though most of the scenes in this movie are a little bit too long.
You felt like it was go, go, go?
Yeah, the story itself, if it's point by point, it's go, go, go. But
Really?
some of the scenes took a little bit too long to, you know, if you're just looking at the story beats, they're like moving from this to this to this to this to this, right? It's very
Yeah.
no, it's very straightforward. But the scenes themselves take a long time. Just
I'm
as
gonna say
like
maybe.
the
Oh,
the
sorry.
start of the story up
Mhm.
till this point is fast. So you get to the information, just the information that you need. From here on in, because of the chasing stuff and it's like she is dealing with the unknown that for now we've only seen a little bit of. This is where the scenes seem to be a little bit longer because from here till the end of the movie, in terms of bullet points, there are like 4, 5, 6 bullet points. That's about it.
Yeah. I was gonna say, what, Emery, you were gonna say something?
You see, to me, the movie felt slow. It did. And it's probably partly because of the whole drawing out those scenes too long.
Yeah.
The amount of kind of just weird and I felt unproductive silence. Just the pacing in terms of, I mean, I understand what you're saying where the story moves along in each scene. It's not like you have a lot of random exposition, but for me, it felt like there wasn't a whole lot of um there. That makes sense.
Yeah.
I don't know
Like,
how to put it exactly.
I would
It just
imagine, sorry, I would imagine the script is very short.
mm,
Yes, it is. It is.
Sorry,
yeah.
I just
For
wanted to
me,
say
it
that.
just some of it felt like it was more. There were parts I felt more like I was watching a teenage or young adult drama than I was a horror movie.
Interesting. So,
That's fair. That's a fair assessment.
right. So let's get into the dread parts because that's the most important thing, I guess. This scene where you have the T.S. Eliot kind of the teacher kind of discusses that poem of
Mhm.
Lazarus as Jay turns to the window and she sees an old woman coming towards her, and she still hasn't it still hasn't clicked,
Oh,
right?
one thing I was gonna tie back to just real quick
Yeah, no
is
problem.
after the interview with the police, they have just a scene where they check out the scene. They realize that Hugh is a fake name and all that stuff. What's
Mhm.
important is you notice that the mother at the beginning, when Jay was coming in from the pool, she was sitting at the just the dinner, the for dinner table, kitchen table, by
Yeah.
herself, drinking alone.
Yes.
And you notice that when she's actually talking to her neighbor, it's like, oh, she's telling her neighbor about how Hugh was a fake name and he told her all of this nonsense. She was
Mhm.
Irishing up her coffee pretty heavily.
Yes.
And you
And
notice that the father's not there.
yes,
Mhm.
and also she in the start you can see her a little bit, but then she is kind of absent throughout the movie.
But yes. But what's important is the missing father, because
Yes.
that is very important later.
I will
Yes.
say I noticed one thing way back at the beginning. Now that you've said that,
Mhm.
the part where she's walking into the house, I immediately took notice to the fact that the mother never turned towards them. You
Correct.
only see the back of her
Yes.
head,
Mhm.
and
Yes.
yeah, I thought that was an interesting bit of setup for going into
It
it.
I'm guessing it's the director or the director writer um trying to he not only set the scene, but he gives you the context of what the movie is also about. So it's
Mhm.
a horror movie about a girl getting chased by an entity, but it's also an allegory of STDs, and it's also about the Detroit of today. Let's just
Right.
say an abandoned city, a rundown city, and how things going. I love the fact that they mention later on that the mothers don't allow them to go past the 8 mile. And I was
Yeah.
like,
Mhm.
are they talking about M&M 8 mile? Then
Yeah.
I, again, not being from the US, I was like, I wanted to know a little bit more because I needed context, right?
Mhm.
Mhm.
Go to check it out. Oh, the 8 mile is the road from this place to this place. And in Detroit, if you go south of it or north of it, it's like the hood, and the opposite side is like suburbia,
Yeah.
like deep suburbia, like middle income families. So the dichotomy between, oh, you never go past this road because this is the hood and you'll
Mhm.
be killed.
It is the same thing like going into the south side of Chicago.
Exactly.
It's
Yeah.
very, very
Yeah.
similar.
We try not
Yeah.
to. Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
that's why you don't send a
Whew.
7-year-old with a great big doll called Chucky there, right?
Yes.
Alone. Oh my god. Yes, we'll move past that comment. So the thing with this, the first thing we kind of realize, oh, this is an entity that only Jay sees, is where she goes away from the old woman, and there's the corridor, and she says,
Mhm.
"Get away from me!" And those two girls behind the entity are like, "What did you say?"
I
Because
thought she said hello.
oh, she said hello. Oh, she
Yeah.
She
said
says
hello to
hello,
yeah,
and then the
hello to
girl
the
looks at her and goes, "Hello."
yeah, and she realizes these girls don't see this woman.
Yeah.
And she just runs away and literally go to the next scene. Um, this talk, this dude.
Oh,
This
Paul.
was the most teenage drama of the
Drama.
entire
Yeah.
thing, and I'm like, okay, can this be over now?
If this girl is the equivalent of Amaranth, sorry, it was on my mind as I watched this the second time this week. The thing on my mind was literally, he is literally the Amaranth simp. He's just happened to be her friend also. Where
I'm
the
not gonna lie. I said, okay, so when are we gonna be done with Incel Boy?
yes, it's literally Incel Boy before Incel Boy was a thing.
Well, to be fair, he did make it out at one point in time
He-
with both of the sisters, so he at least has done something. But
I'm
he
not
just
sure
won't
that
let it
makes
go.
it better.
Well,
Yeah. The
Well-
fact that he won't let it go, yeah, I guess you're kind of right there. It does kind of
Well-
make it worse, doesn't it?
technically, he kissed her. She was his first kiss. And then he kissed her sister. And then he kissed his sister. And Jay also says, yeah, you kissed your sister too.
No. That's Jay's sister. Kelly is Jay's sister. He kissed both of the sisters.
Oh, she means her sister?
Yeah.
Her sister, yeah, that's Kelly.
Yeah.
Oh, because she said you kissed Kelly and your sister.
No,
meant
she said-
oh,
You did say
you know
your
what?
sister.
See, this is why I have to watch this yet again.
Yeah.
But the whole conversation was weird because you immediately know what he's after, and you know she's not reciprocating at all.
Mhm.
Well, the thing is, too, every one of their friends openly mocks him for it. Yara mocks him for it. Kelly mocks him for it. Even later on, I think, was it Yara who says the line? It's like, yeah, the only thing you should have to be afraid of is Paul climbing, like
Humping
creeping
your
into your
leg.
bed.
Yeah.
Humping your leg.
Yeah.
That's what it was. Yeah, humping your leg.
Right. Everybody goes to sleep. Again, the mom is kind of absent from everything here. Jay kind of awakens by some noise. She goes up to I think it's the laundry room or whatever, and she sees this dead, half-naked girl coming towards her. She goes back to the room and she yells.
Dead girl is urinating as she's walking, by the way.
Yes.
Which was,
Her pink
I don't
skirt.
know.
Don't forget the pink skirt.
Yes, the pink skirt. Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know why they needed to add the urination bit. I don't.
You know, I'll be honest, I did interpret it as urination because she looked wet from the top down anyway. I interpreted it as just more water running through her body.
Well, I thought it was
could be.
something completely different the first time. Watched it the second time. I thought like you. I thought it was urine, and I thought, well, it could be an exorcist thing. Because you're saying he likes John Carpenter. John Carpenter obviously didn't do The Exorcist, but there is shades of The Exorcist where the girl is kind of not only disheveled, it looks like she got beaten up with the ugly stick as well, like in the face. And I was like, okay, maybe they're going like it's an entity that you know, but maybe you don't. They're looking at old films. I kind of had that little connection. Maybe it's vague for vagueness sake. So it's a general thing. Amorata said she looks kind of wet anyways.
Yeah.
Maybe it's unintentional, but there is a shot where you see just her feet and drippings of water.
Yeah.
Where maybe they're trying to like make us guess or something and keep it oddly vague.
Well, I mean, there's another more disgusting route to go with it. I'm not sure how familiar you are with STDs, but a lot of them can cause some really nasty discharge for women.
Yes. I think it's chlamydia.
Chlamydia is one.
Chlamydia is one, yes.
But a lot of them can cause nasty. And then, of course, there's yeast infections and all sorts of other fun stuff that comes with having those parts. So
The thing is, she locks herself in the room and her friends are like, let us in.
Well, also, like an idiot, what does she do? She goes upstairs.
Yeah.
What did he tell you? Do not go into some place where you could get cornered. It's like, thank God she could actually get out of the window.
Yes.
Otherwise, she would have been dead.
Yeah. All right, cool. We're gonna stop here, and we're gonna.
I was gonna say just real quick. What's funny though is the guy that comes in after, and how the entity can kind of
lurch looking guy.
That he's actually a 7'7" tall engineer that works for the Ford Motor Company. He builds engines, and he's also part of I think they're the world's tallest twins.
Oh
wow!
Yeah,
that's cool.
So
that's really cool.
And
he did that how? Just he went up for a part.
Well, no, because he works in Detroit. This is all shot in Detroit.
Yeah.
And if you didn't notice too, Greg, Amorata, have you seen Don't Breathe?
I have not seen it yet. No.
He is the actor who plays Greg is one of the original thieves in there, and that film is also based in Detroit.
In Detroit. Oh. Interesting.
All right. Cool. We're going to have our first segment of the night. It is called Missing Marquee. Missing Marquee, for the uninitiated, is where we take 10 posters, have their text written off, and we display them, and Amorata is going to have to guess which movie this is. Chat participation is most welcome. Let me set this up for a second. Blimp, and there we go. Done, and go right ahead. If you need me to punch in, I'll punch in.
That's easy. Edward Scissorhands.
Edward Scissorhands. I need to punch in for this.
Escape from New York.
Escape from New York.
Ooh, this one's harder.
This one's a little bit harder.
Apocalypse Now?
Not Apocalypse Now, but it is set in Vietnam.
It's the other really, really big one.
That doesn't help.
It's a Kubrick film.
Oh shit. Ooh. It's right there, and I can't remember.
You have about 20-ish seconds ahead of the chat.
It's there, but I'm not going to get it.
It's there, but it stars Matthew Modine. Who else? Who's the guy who played Kingpin in the Daredevil show?
I also don't know that. What is that?
The guy who played Kingpin is in this movie.
I just can't remember it. Oh my god.
Lee Army is in this one.
Yeah,
He's the sergeant.
I know what movie it is. I can't remember the name. I can see the cover of the
Say
it's
videotape. 3 words. The last bit is a tire.
Yeah,
it's something you put on.
Full Metal Jacket.
Full Metal Jacket, correct.
Jesus. Which National Lampoons is this?
Just shoot.
It's The Vacation?
It's Vacation.
Yeah, I don't know this one.
Oh, Meth.
It's Marvel something,
Todd
I think.
McFarlane.
Oh, yeah. Venom?
This is
not Venom.
This is a film that basically nearly killed the possibility of comic book films ever being made again. Yes.
Spawn.
Bingo.
Correct.
Fuck if I know.
Oh, this movie is so bad.
This movie is terrible.
I don't think I've seen this movie.
This movie bombed so hard. It nearly killed Scarlett Johansson's career. Nearly. And it's really hard to kill her career.
And was this...
It looks awful.
Was this before the first Transformers?
This is before the first Transformers. This is... I think it's just after The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, no.
So I'm thinking that this nearly almost killed Michael Bay's career then too.
Nearly.
Yeah.
Nearly. And he came off Bad Boys.
Wow.
I seriously
had no clue.
Yeah, it's after Bad Boys 2, yeah.
Okay. Oh, my feelings? This is...
The Island.
The Island.
It's a terrible movie.
Yeah. Lone Rider.
Lone Rider. Lone Ranger.
Oh, Lone Ranger, Rider, whatever.
Yeah.
I know this one. It's a really good one. I like it a lot.
This killed Rennie Harlin's marriage.
Yeah. It has something to do with kissing, doesn't it?
Yes. Yes. It's not as bad as it bombed in the theaters, because this movie bombed a lot. Like,
that's sad, because I really like this movie.
Yes, stinkified in the theaters, but it's much better than the box office would have you know.
Yeah, I mean, it's a good movie. It's not
movie.
Kiss the Girls. It's
not Kiss the Girls. She's like this assassin that has family.
That's not going to help me remember the title.
And she forgets. No, that does not help you with the title, actually.
Because I know the movie. I just don't remember the title of the movie. I can describe she's the one who has the forgetting, and she finds out.
She's really good in this movie.
Oh yeah, no, it's
I've
a
seen
great
it
movie.
I think about a year ago. I've seen it with my wife, and she is
So-
really good in this movie.
Was this
Yeah.
after A League of Their Own?
This is
No,
after-
I think this
yes.
was it? Oh god,
This
my
is
time
after
frames
the
are
League
all
of Their
off.
Own
Okay.
and before the stupid pirate movie that she did that completely killed her career.
I don't even remember a stupid pirate movie.
Exactly.
Oh God, what was
Whoa.
that?
It's like
Was that
the
Treasure Island?
Treasure Island.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't remember
that's
that one
of
at all.
the biggest bombs of all time. Yeah.
Yeah. So, all my feelings.
Kiss me
This
gently,
is
kiss me. I don't remember.
it is a
Kiss Me
long
Deadly?
kiss goodnight.
Goodbye.
Okay.
Oh, damn. Usual suspects.
Usual Suspects. And the last one,
It's one of the Toy Story movies.
which
I'm gonna
one?
go with 3.
3 is correct.
Cool.
Not my favorite segment, but I love to see people squirm, so I'm good.
He's a real piece of work.
I'm a real
Yeah,
piece of shit. Cool. So we Jay escapes. We're back in the movie. Jay escapes through the window, and then she sits at a swing in a park where she can see all around her, except her back, where she doesn't even try and look, which was odd.
The
Which
number
was
of times I saw her doing that, and I'm like, what the? All right.
Yeah. She
Thank
looks
you, Amorata and Meph. Because seriously, there are 3 times in this film where I'm like, why are you so calm? Why are you not constantly looking around you?
Why don't you have your back to a wall? It's not like you can walk through a wall. We've proven that.
Yeah.
So, Jesus.
just to give the audience a taste. She looks so the shots is her looking like this, and then it cuts to whatever's in front of her or the sides, but never
Or
from
above.
the back. Yeah, never
Yeah,
from
I
the
mean,
back.
she's even looking up in the trees, but never behind. And it's like,
Never
what?
behind him. Yes. And she's like the quintessential final girl, or set up to be this quintessential final girl. And she does survive at the end, but some of the shots were a little bit, maybe a little bit questionable in terms of motives. But again, it's not a big issue. It's like these teeny tiny bits. So her friends kind of, gather around, and in comes, is it Jay, right? Again,
Greg.
me and names, not
No,
Jay.
her name's Jay.
Jay,
Greg.
Jeff. This is
Greg.
Greg. I'm
So-
horrible. I'm really horrible with names.
Hugh, the guy who gave it to her, his actual name is Jeff that they find out
Mhm.
later.
Yeah, okay. He comes in. There's a shot where she comes back from her date, I think, and he's working on the car, right? There's a tiny
No.
shot where they exchange. Maybe I don't remember which one it was. When she was going back to her house, they exchange kind of a look, but nothing more. They don't talk to each other. They kind of maybe say hi, but they kind of exchange a look. You can see him working on his car, and then he pops up here.
Oh, he was washing the car when Jay and Kelly were walking back, and it's just a side scene in between the dates between Hugh and Jay.
Yeah,
before
that's what I meant.
before they have sex and she gets the entity. And,
That's what I
and
meant.
also, if you notice, Greg was also in Jay's class.
I did not notice that.
Yeah,
but okay.
he was in her class as well. Yeah.
And right before this, he was smoking with another woman in a car.
Yeah. So they find out the bogus address, right, of Jeff, and they go and search the house, where they find a dilapidated house. They go in. Hugh, the simp, finds again.
That's Paul.
Paul. Dude, I'm sorry. I'm really. I apologize. Anyway, the simp. We'll call him the simp and the Chad, okay? For me.
That works.
The simp kind of finds dirty magazines, where
But by the way, the creepiest thing you could do, come on. He actually picks up the used Kleenex off the magazine and just starts flipping through
yes,
it.
I found it very, very in character of that guy. While she's just behind him, right? But they did establish the fact that when they were talking about the kissing part, they did mention the fact that they found old dirty magazines and they spread all of them in front of the house, looking at
Yeah.
them as
Like
one
a
of the
setup and payoff kind of
mothers
thing.
comes
Yeah.
in. So that to me was kind of a setup and payoff. Again, not a big thing, but it is what it is. As Jay looks through the attic window and she kind of sees somebody goes across the street, and she immediately kind of panics. Not necessarily the entity, because as we can tell later on, some of the people that are just crossing their path are just people.
Hmm.
Yeah, are just people. But
Oh,
it
there's
sets
actually the one back in that other scene when she was at the swings. They have someone walking at them, and she goes, "Can you see that person?" And they go, "Yeah,
Oh
it's
yeah,
a
there's
person."
Greg. Mhm.
yeah. The thing is, I found it a little bit weird that in the house where it's supposed to be a bogus address, they do find a picture of Jeff with his girlfriend or whatever. That's not the same girl as the beginning, is it?
No, that's not Annie. No.
Yeah. That's not the same girl as the beginning. I thought in the first viewing, I thought, oh, that's the connection. But
Well,
Mhm.
there's
because you have to remember the whole premise of it. It goes backwards from the
yes.
most recent victim. So Annie must have slept with Hugh at some point in time, and Hugh gave it to Annie.
Yeah.
The entity killed Annie, so then it was after Hugh. So Hugh had to find somebody else to give it to.
Yeah. But it's not the same girl. And
Mm-mm.
not in the same girl in the picture.
He's kind of a
It kind
slut.
well, yeah.
Well, you kind of have
I-
to be with this thing.
I mean, to be fair, Jay is a slut. I mean, she does transfer it to Chad Boy, and then when it doesn't work,
Well,
she
the only
she
reason why is because Greg offers up to like, listen, I'll take it from you.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'll deal with it.
Yeah.
Kind of, you know,
And we
white
also
knighting.
don't know exactly what happens with the guys on the boat either.
Yeah, that's what I said.
If you notice that, it kind of
I,
it just cuts away from it, and she looks very despondent, and she's soaking wet, like she actually went into the water.
she went into the water. But do they mention if they did it or not? I think her sister asks her if she did it or not. She gives like she didn't ask her. No, I have to watch this again. I thought somebody asked her about those guys, and she gave like a
No,
vague
because
answer.
she was all by herself. Remember?
Yes, I know. She went into the water. She went out and into the water by herself, and then coming back soaking wet. And it was like, oh, I get it. But I don't think it's very ambiguous, which
But
is
that's
good.
later. That's later in this. But what's really important is the panning shots that are done in the very obviously Carpenter-esque style in there
Mhm.
while they're at the high school. When you actually have all of the students walking around slowly, the
Yes.
constant red herrings that are set up there, it's like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, Mitchell, that's brilliant.
Yes.
That is brilliant.
Yes. I thought so too. It's like like I said, at first it seems like okay, I guess, and then on the second viewing, it's like, oh, I see what you did to make us think it's gonna literally leap off of these people. But again, it's one of those slow moving entities where you can see it a mile away, but because it's hidden in the crowd, it can jump on you from not the shadows, but it can jump on you. Like you said, panning shots. There's lots of these shots where you see the road or like buildings from afar and everything. Kind of set you in the mood. I love it when they go into like trying to show you dilapidated Detroit,
Mhm.
right? And that's like 2014 Detroit, which now is even worse, I think, right? So they go into the registry of the college. I thought it was the high school, but they go into
That's
the
at Jeff's old high school. So they go to Jeff or Hugh. They
yeah.
find out his real name, so that then they go to his high school to find out who he is. They find out his real name, so then they were able to actually track down where his mother lives. So they actually have the conversation with him.
Yeah. What was the deal with the grass? She was picking off the grass and she put it on like her thigh.
Her leg. Yeah.
Very orderly like. Now, I'm going to tell you what I thought. I thought it was a substitute for cutting.
That's what
went
I thought too.
all the way there cuz the grass can cut you and make a mark, especially maybe not that. I again don't know that grass, but I thought it was a substitute for cutting. Again, teenage girls. I thought they were teenage girls. You're saying they're about 20. I thought they were teenage girls, so I thought, well, there might be a thing here, but they don't pursue it at all. They just have that little point where she kind of deals with the situation with a mock kind of cutting situation.
Mm-hmm.
That was my initial thought.
And you both nailed it.
Well, it was pretty
It's pretty
on
on
the
the nose. Yeah.
I don't. Hey, sometimes
But, I mean,
I
yeah,
don't know
I mean,
because it's just grass. There's no red blood and there's no marks. There's no nothing. She just neatly kind of puts it there and immediately was like, "Is this cutting?" It's like, "Yeah, probably."
well, it's a combination of the grass and the location because often they'll cut on their thighs like that because it's an easy spot to hide. But it's also a matter of why most people state that they cut, and that's to gain a sense of control. And she's very much in a situation right now where she has no control. So it's a
Yeah.
really good kind of metaphor.
And this
So-
can also, on the side of this too, Jeff is giving them the big exposition dump
Yeah,
of
yeah.
like
Mhm.
to all the rest of the. I'm going to call them the Scooby Gang because it's kind of what they all remind me of.
It's an accurate. It's accurate.
I mean, you do have the nerdy girl with the glasses. You had the blonde chick. You have Shaggy, and you have the Chad dude.
Fred, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, because in so many ways, Yara is both Scooby Doo and Thelma. Because if you notice, in most of the scenes, she's eating something.
Yeah. She spent a lot of time
Yeah.
eating.
Yeah, I guess. She's like the Brad Pitt of low budget horror movies, I guess.
That's fair. That's fair.
Sorry, my mind just went.
So,
Uh,
and we also get the other bit where you see Jeff recoil. It's like, do you see her? Do you see her? That girl walking by with the
Yeah.
soccer ball, just emphasizing
that
it
she just-
again.
Walks by.
That it establishes the fact that we don't know where it's coming from, and yeah, certain people that got the disease can see other things. So they go into. I thought they were going like on a cabin thing.
Yeah,
but
that's where they
it's
go.
just but it's not that secluded, to be fair. There's like a big old driveway with these really amazing looking trees. The person who did the location scouting was fucking awesome because
Yeah.
the shot of the moving vehicle going through those trees is fucking awesome. It always is. And there are only a few places where you can find that particular set, especially with these big fucking trees, right? They go in some sort of a secluded thing on the lake, and Chad Boy teaches Jay how to shoot things. She shoots a lot of she gets a lot of airtime, let's just say that.
Oh,
until
God.
she hits one. And this kind of
What thing
sets
of a
up
gun even? Oh, God.
and she
So much wrong.
it
Sorry.
sets up a lot of like, yeah, if push comes to shove, she will miss a lot of shots.
Hmm.
And yeah, it's
Yeah,
kind
and
of funny.
also what's sort of important too is they actually had the conversation where they mentioned the fact that they were neighbors and how they never really talked that much. It's like, oh, like we were even in the same, even that same class, and we
Hmm.
Yeah,
never really spoke to each other.
yeah,
And it's like, oh, I'm really sorry about that. That's what Greg says anyway.
yeah.
No, it kind of gives you a little more context on the whole missing thing, because
Hmm.
obviously she's been missing that connection as well,
Hmm.
on top of missing all of her shots.
um, it does beg the differ that she found this guy Jeff, where we don't know where she met him. It kind of we're
Hmm.
kind of falling into a timeline, and where you have this dude coming in, and he was available. He was just he's across the street. He was in her class. It's like, but he was invisible. He
Hmm.
doesn't pine over her though, right?
Yeah, no, he's not a
No,
simp like
that's
Paul.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's
D-
not like Paul because he's like they've already shown him in the car with another girl, and then
yeah.
after everything that happens, he's actually back with her. They're sitting there eating lunch. He's with another girl.
Yeah.
Hmm.
So obviously, this man is not suffering for nothing.
No. And then
And
this, and I
another
was
one that
like,
pisses me off. Yeah.
and this is
Yes. Why
where,
are you not more on guard? And also, that's Annie from the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I thought for a second it's Yara, which
It looks a lot like her.
Yeah.
it, and I was like, okay, that's why she's not even thinking, but
No, but Yara was
she's
already in
not
the
looking.
water saying, "Come on
Yeah,
in,
yeah,
have a
exactly.
swim." Yeah.
And then we see the hair.
Hmm.
The hair, that was weird. We'll put it there. It's really hard to get the exact moment. She gets her hair pulled, and it's like, what the fuck is going on? And now so her sister and Paul kind of have the context of this is actually real. Paul gets demolished,
Oh,
gets thrown to the side.
Oh, yeah.
So they know it's a physical thing. They just can't see it.
Well, this is where I've got an issue with the continuity on what the entity is.
Mhm.
Okay.
Because if you notice before in the scene when it's inhabiting that forearm of that 7'7" tall creature in the bedroom, it is right on top of someone else. So does it just like forcefully have the capability to push someone away when it wants to, or
Yeah.
Yeah,
not? Or is it only
it's
like some semi corporeal when it actually attacks someone?
Well, and it could be
Otherwise, it's
partly that it
intangible.
really only takes interest in others besides her when they attack it, because he does hit it with the chair before it tosses him
That's
aside.
true. That's true.
yes.
I'm just trying to, because that's what the mythos of what the entity is like it's kind of confounding where it's like you don't really know if is it supposed to be incorporeal, or as you said, Amorata, is it will attack when provoked, or
Right.
is it that way all the time and it was just a continuity error where it was actually supposed to bump into one of the girls?
Well, and in
And
that situation, where if it could have very well bumped into them, but since they're already close together, there's a good possibility that they just assumed it was one of the other girls, right, or one of the other people right there in close
that's true.
proximity.
That's true.
And when they run away to like the whatever
Shed.
beach house, I guess the shed, Jay fires a bunch of rounds and almost hits Chad dude. She almost hits him, and then she manages to hit the entity, where I think at this point it is Yara because it has glasses,
No,
right?
that's still Alice. That's
That's
the
Annie.
actress
still
that
the girl
plays.
from the
Sorry,
start.
Annie. Yeah,
Okay.
she just happens to be wearing glasses at the point. But yeah, she does end up shooting it. But then how Annie just gets up and
Right
just
back up.
Yeah,
keeps going.
right back up. Which means we can't kill it with conventional weapons. Sort of like what's his face?
Well, there's a whole
Lost it.
list of
Never
them
mind.
that fall on that
No, no,
one.
no, no, no.
Yeah.
I had a movie in mind. I'll think about it in a bit. I think it's from Wayne's World 2. Yeah. Ozzy can't be killed by conventional weapons.
Oh yes.
Oh, right. Okay.
It's
Yeah.
from Wayne's World 2. It's
Yeah.
from Wayne's World
Yeah.
2.
No.
I tend to
Yeah.
try to block out that movie because it's really
I
bad.
I like that movie.
do not
Oh,
knock
I'm
that
sorry,
movie.
I just don't like that movie at
Do
all.
not. It has Chris Farley doing Chris Farley things. How can you knock this movie out? We'll have a discussion backstage. Don't worry, we will. Right. So we have a situation where the entity kind of kicks the door in, but it doesn't go in immediately.
Mhm.
And there's a shot where Chad dude comes in. It's like, why did you shoot at me?
What'd
It's
you do
like,
the door? Yeah.
we
What'd you do
shot
to the door? It's like,
yeah, what did you do to the door? It's like, we didn't.
at
And
that point in time, you have to try to. Greg,
Yeah.
but can you see where they are compared to the giant hole in the door, and
Hole in
how
the
the hell
door,
could
and
they
the
have
fact that
done it?
everything's on the inside, not the outside.
Yeah,
yeah.
simple physics would be like, wait, you didn't do that.
So he walks away and they're thinking maybe the entity got him or they don't know. And
Mhm.
suddenly this kid is it's the Peeping Tom kid, right? If I'm not mistaken. He comes in and
It's like the neighbor kid or something. Yeah.
Yeah.
that's like a jump scare, right? And they run away and Jay literally takes off on a car by herself
Self.
and almost gets killed. She gets run over, not run over, but she gets driven
Run
off
off
the
the
road.
road, but she
Yeah.
swerves.
She swerves
I will say
away.
what I do like about this scene though is that it shows that the entities, well, for one, it shows that it will change forms to suit what it needs to do.
Correct.
And for
Mhm.
two, that there's actually a pause, a moment between it changing forms that it has to wait because you see, first you see Annie coming up to the door, they close it, they lock it, and then you see the really tall dude walk by the window towards the door before it starts kicking it.
Yeah.
And then of course the Greg and then the neighbor kid popping through. So I really liked how they did set that up because it made it seem very intelligent as opposed to just mindless.
Yes. It seems to like morph itself to whatever it needs to do at the time.
Mhm.
So she wakes up at a hospital. Everybody's there keeping an eye on her. Apparently the entity stopped for a bit.
Yeah.
Stopped for a bit to chase her.
While
but
they're unconscious, I guess.
again, there are a little bit of inconsistencies in terms of what is the urgency of the chase itself. How urgent the chase itself actually is.
Mhm.
With Jeff was a little bit off, but again, it was the start of the movie, and it kind of remains vague. But once it starts chasing Jay, it seems like it's kind of chasing her, and then it kind of stops. Then it's chasing her, and then it kind of stops. And in the hospital, she kind of convinces Chad Boy to
Help a girl out.
transfer
Take
the
it.
gift.
Yes.
And at this point, it was like, yeah, but what if he dies? He's going to come after Jay anyway. So what's the point here?
I would say, for lack of a better term, it's him being the ultimate white knight.
Yeah,
That's a good way to put it.
I guess.
Taking the proverbial bullet for her.
He probably also thought that he could actually fight it where she couldn't.
Yeah, that's fair.
The macho thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And after they sleep together, we kind of have this scene where he seems like he's completely detached from that group at all. It seems
Yeah.
like
Well, he's going back to his normal life because before he was
Mhm.
just the neighbor. And they knew each other, but they weren't really close.
I
That's why
guess,
they had
but
that. That's why when he had that conversation with Jay when she was teaching her how to shoot, like they weren't close at all.
yeah. Yeah. But to me, it seems weird after you had an experience. I don't mean the sex. I mean an experience where he seems to be detached, and I take it as he didn't quite believe that group,
He never
right?
did.
Mhm. No.
Where he's like, I'll where it positions him to the point where maybe he wasn't white knighting it. Maybe he did that A, to have sex with a beautiful girl, and B, it's like, she's talking stupid shit. This is my
Well,
chance to like slip one in and
well,
just tell her what
you could take it on the negative side, or you could take it on the positive side, where he's actually doing that to put
yeah,
her mind at ease because it's going to come after him and not her. So
Or you
she
could just
doesn't
do
have to
both.
worry about it anymore. Yeah, or both. Yeah. I mean,
I mean,
you could be both the hero and the villain, Emerald. You're right.
Exactly. Yeah.
uh,
Well, and you
I,
have to
I
remember he did miss the whole hair pulling thing, so he didn't see
Yeah,
all
he didn't
that.
see it.
So he still is in a place to not believe.
yeah, and when he approaches them again, he's like, "Where's Jay? Can I go talk to her?" And it's like they kind of give him an answer. Yeah, she's just at the back. If you want to
Well,
wait
no,
up,
because saying that she's still up in her room, locked in her room. She won't leave. She won't talk to anybody.
yeah,
Yeah. It's not like she's in the back in the pool, relaxing,
no,
having a good time like she was at the beginning of the film.
I didn't say that.
Mhm.
It's like she's like in here, but she's trying to relax, but she sees ghosts everywhere, and it really doesn't help that you can tell the neighborhood kids are still peeping Tom her. Like
Mhm.
she's they're still lurking around, and it really doesn't help where she still thinks maybe that worked, maybe that didn't work. Am I still being chased? Am I not being chased? And the
Well, also
guy's
at this
like,
point in time, she doesn't know whether or not Greg is still alive or dead. So if it could have gotten Greg, then it could be coming after her again, given the rules that were set to her by Jeff.
yes.
So
Um, night comes and she kind of sees something.
now, see, to this point, Amorata, to what you had mentioned before, how it can play off and manipulate people, how it
Mhm.
actually shows him, the entity, as Greg, walking toward Greg's house to break in order to lure Jay to Greg's house.
Mhm.
Yeah, this is where the kind of the entity is a little bit more not clever, but a little bit more planned. I would say it's kind of
Mhm.
plans the whole, taking the set piece of, oh, now I'm going after Greg, but Jay's next.
Mhm.
I it, first viewing didn't think it was on purpose that he did that. Second viewing, again, so important to watch it a little bit more critically. It's like, yeah, maybe it is planned. I don't know. Again, keeping the vagueness there keeps the suspense going for me. Right? Is it planned? Is it not planned? I'm on my toes. Still, I'm still saying the scene was like all the other scenes, just a little bit too long. Everything was slow. There was no urgency until the last bit of it. That's what I'm saying. At least for me. So she sees the entity breaks into the house. So it doesn't it when you said before we don't know if it's corporeal or not. It seems like it's physical there. It does change form according to what it's trying to do, because in order for Greg to open the door, it turns into his mother, right?
Yeah.
But in order to lure
Finally, the mother
Jay,
shows up.
and even though she is half naked, I guess he wasn't phased when he opened the door and she was half naked. He just said, "Mom, what are you doing here?
Well, she was wearing just like a slip and bra and panties. I mean, like that's
No, she was not wearing a bra.
yeah.
You know I'm a degenerate.
Yes, I know.
So if I'm saying she's not wearing a bra, trust me, she's not wearing a bra.
Well, and I do have to say, poor Greg. Could you imagine getting fucked to death by your mom?
Yes.
Oh God, that sounds horrific.
It was not.
That's
fucked.
what happened to him.
It technically was a dry hump, but still, you wouldn't want that from your mom. Unless
realistically, to death, you just don't want to be in that situation with your mother, period.
Period. Exactly.
I mean,
yes.
As a matter of fact, death might be a release at the end, because then you don't have to live the rest of your life thinking about that.
Your very short life. So Jay witnesses the whole thing. So she goes through the window, goes up the stairs. She sees the entity, knocks on the door, basically breaking the door, but not really. He opens the door, and then she sees the whole situation. She runs off, takes off in her car, or the mother's car, whatever.
What's important right there is the callback to the father, because the entity actually shows up on the roof.
Yes,
naked. And that actor, that's her dad.
Because he dropped in the picture when they were talking to.
That's the actress's dad?
No, that's the character's dad from the pictures.
Oh, okay.
That's Jay's father. Yeah.
Okay.
So again, the entity is messing with her, saying, look, I killed your friend.
Yeah, I'm coming.
By manipulating him. And look who I am now.
And when she drives off, again with the pink-ish stuff, she goes into the water, into those two guys who are out fishing or just playing around. And it cuts to, from this scene, immediately to her going back, soaking wet.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And where, like I said, I think she mentioned that she didn't, or something. She mentions it again. I don't know. I think when she talks to her Kelly, I need to see it again just to make sure, but just there. Right. Before we kind of get to the last part of where they go into the pool and they actually face the entity with a plan, we're going to do our plan. Yeah.
Well, what's funny too is just quick aside. When they get back, if you notice, the pool in the backyard that she was swimming in before,
it was ripped.
It's ripped and completely destroyed.
Yeah, and all the water came off. Right. Before we continue sort of the third act of the movie, we're going to do a little segment called Screen Fighter.
Round 1, fight.
Screen Fighter for the uninitiated is we take two movies, pit them together, and see which one is the best one. There's no discernible difference between the two. Both of them are good. Both of them are bad. We fall into our criteria, which is Friday evening, Saturday evening, out with the boys, out with the girls, out with your significant other. We got two movies in a vacuum. Which one will we pop in? This is the pair that will open up tonight. Yes, it's a lovely pair. It is Terminator 2 Judgment Day or Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace. Amorata, you have the floor.
Terminator 2, are you kidding me? I mean, it's just such an obvious choice. Of course, I'm one of those people who didn't like the prequels at all. And of course, I'm also old. So that helps. But yeah, I mean, Terminator 2 is just it's a great action movie for just about any situation.
All right, cool.
Which I believe we said all we needed to say about Terminator 2 Judgment Day in the review that we did. But
yes,
I do have to say that is an excellent poster. I've never seen that poster before.
What? The hand?
Yeah, that's a great poster.
This website, flickchart.com, has so many good posters. Remember all the stuff in the Japanese posters.
There are so
Remember
many great Japanese
the
posters, but this is
RoboCop one from a couple of
this is
weeks ago was
definitely
fantastic.
that's an English poster. I just have
Yeah,
never seen that
I
one
mean,
before. That's
generally
fantastic.
speaking. Yeah, generally
But
speaking.
but don't worry, Amorata, you're in good company. We both hate the prequels, so
I'm
Thank
not
God.
gonna even say what I think. Nightmare Shark. I haven't
which
seen
I
that
know
one.
you have not seen.
I have not seen that one. So we're gonna flip that open.
I haven't seen any
Casino,
of
which
those.
I've definitely seen, and Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Amorata?
I can't remember the last time I saw Casino, and I never watched Mr. and Mrs. Smith, so I'm gonna go with Casino because at least I've seen it once.
Okay.
Meth?
You can say it. You're
you
allowed.
Jew motherfucker, you!
It's gonna be Casino. Before we covered Casino, I would have said Mr. and Mrs. Smith. Because to be perfectly fair, Mr. and Mrs. Smith is not a bad movie. It's fun, it's action, it's the battle of the sexes. It's really, really good. The third act, kind of, there's moments there where it's kind of being, both the Mary Sue and a Gary Stu, like big
Very
time,
much so. Yeah, very
big
very much so.
time. But it's still fun, and it's a fun popcorn movie. Casino, not only it's not a biopic, but it's a story that is set in the kind of the real world, with a little bit of changes. It still keeps you engaged, and you want to know more about the characters, even after the movie is done. At least in one character. So for me, it's Casino. Road Trip or Scary Movie 3?
I'd have to go with Road Trip.
Oh,
I mean, Scary
Any
Movie
reasons?
3 is okay, but by the time you get to the third movie in these, it kind of gets played out a little. And at least Road Trip was Road Trip. I mean, there's so many interesting, weird parts. What's his face there with I don't remember his name, the one in the middle. And the storytelling in that, the way they weave it around what he's
The
doing.
Todd.
And
Oh, Tom Green. It's Tom Green.
Tom
Yeah,
Green,
him.
Yeah.
yeah,
but he's
and-
playing a character called the Todd.
Yeah. But it's a funny, stupid movie, but at the same time, it makes a lot of smart, kind of weird choices. So it's just enjoyable for me.
All right. Feelings?
I was 16 the first time I saw Road Trip, and it was the first time I heard I Wanna Rock by Twisted Sister.
No.
It's Road Trip.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, this is where we differ, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to pick Scary Movie 3. It is so fucking dumb. It is beyond dumb. Scary Movie 3 is where they go to, it's the Amish one, I think, right? But I would take Wayans Brothers any day to the abomination that is Road Trip. But
Outvoted. Sorry, son.
I'll vote it
Let me say,
again.
wait,
Oh God.
in Scary Movie 3, was that the one with Charlie Sheen? Or was that 4?
I don't remember. I think that's 4. I think that's
Okay.
4.
I know. I think that's 4.
Yeah. The third one is the Amish one. That's the one I remember. Right. War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise, or the Twilight Saga New Moon. I don't even know which one it is. 3,
Oh, Jesus
4,
Christ.
2. I have no
Who
idea.
knows? But I mean,
The one with Batman and the girl who can't act.
Batman, and look at just myriads of pictures. I love playing that game. Seriously, just look up pictures of Kristen Stewart and try to gauge how she's feeling.
Oh,
God.
that's a
She
game
has
That-
same face.
we need to introduce.
What is
is
Kristen
Chris-
Stewart's emotions this time? Yeah.
Yes.
I would have
Is
to go
she
with World
happy?
of
Is
the
she
War.
sad? Does she have to take a crap? I don't know.
Yeah. Amara,
Is she hungry?
you said War of the Worlds?
Yeah, I mean, the Twilight Saga is the Twilight Saga, and I don't like War of the Worlds any better, but at least it's not Twilight.
I'm definitely with you. I did not like War of the Worlds at all.
Yeah, I'd say I think the
At
only
all.
saving grace of War of the Worlds was Crazy Tim Robbins.
Yeah,
And it's
I
not Twilight.
guess.
Yeah,
I
that's
guess.
true. That is
Uh,
categorically true.
right, and we'll do one more. Oh,
Oh,
that's great.
this is easy.
That's
The Black
great.
Cat.
Okay, cool.
Have you seen it, Meph?
I have seen it a long time ago. Again, this is why when I say I'm not a horror guy, I have seen loads of these between when I was 10 and 12. Remember I said I watched like Freddy Krueger and made my brother watch it? This is the kind of like you can put Black Cat for me with like Leprechaun, Critters,
Oh God.
Hellraiser, movies that I know I've seen because when I look at the poster, I was like, okay, I've seen this, but to tell you what went on in that movie, no.
Side note: I am really excited they're making a new Critters.
Yeah, that's gonna be fun. Right, so
It's gonna be awful, but it's gonna be great.
Amorata said the Black Cat, as we have the sort of Black Cat on the other side. Which one will you pick, Feelings?
Definitely the Black Cat.
Really?
Yeah.
What? It's the Winter Soldier. This is not like, I don't know, WandaVision or
And it's
whatever.
not even
whatever
it's not
Phase
even
4
Black.
is
It's not
supposed.
even the Black Widow film. I know.
It's not even the Black Widow film.
Which is funny because she's all over the cover.
Yes.
Of all of the MCU properties, this film is the one that could really stand alone as its own film. And in the second generation of them.
Yeah.
Let me reiterate. Because it is basically, it's more of a spy thriller than it is really comic book film. But
yeah,
I love my old classic horror, man.
you
know
love
this.
your old classic horror. It's gonna be the Winter Soldier
based
for
on
me.
Poe.
I know. Black Cat. I told you. It is what it is. I will take it
You
on
just
the
like being the
chin.
odd one out.
I'm fine with it.
Hey, usually
Totally
I'm the odd one out, Meth. So
That's not what he was saying before.
I normally you do not get voted out. Normally I do. And if there's an agreement, the chat kind of outvotes us or outvotes.
How many times did The Shining lose in a head-to-head toss up?
How does The Shining lose?
The Shining
That's the
lost
question that I had.
a few times. No, it's like 3. Yes. Well, it was up against movies that I really, really liked. And I don't care too much for The Shining on the whole.
Oh, I mean, as long as we're talking about the Kubrick version. If we're talking about that other one, no.
I'll have to go back and see which movies The Shining went against. But it's like one of them is Star Wars. It's like Star Wars is my third of all time, I think.
I think one of them was The Last Crusade, if I'm not mistaken.
Again,
like, still take The Shining.
My 5 of all time. Like, no. No.
Don't worry, it's good. We're gonna review. We're gonna have a Kubrick month coming up.
We're
definitely
definitely
finally gonna actually sit down and I'm gonna
force
and
have
watch
a full on review of that.
Then we're gonna have a 4.5 hour podcast where I'm like, so here's the difference between The Shining and the novel and the film.
Oh God, please invite me for that.
I'm done. I can tell you definitely it's not gonna be 4 hours because it is literally we usually
10.
finish. Yeah, we usually finish.
It's a long ass book, dude.
Yeah, it is a really long book.
We usually try and keep it at around 2 hours. Otherwise, I literally work on Sunday and I get up at 5 a.m. every morning.
Mm.
That's going to be bad for me, but I will suffer for The Shining. I will suffer for The Shining. So Greg is dead. And now, oh no. And now Jay is hiding in her sister's room with a chair blocking the way. But when somebody literally that it made me go crazy. Paul just knocks on the door and she's like, "Oh, okay, let's open the door." It's like, Are you fucking kidding me?
Did you notice? Look at all the pink in her room.
Yes. Now I do notice it. Now I do notice it.
And it has to be in a room because she doesn't appear to be wearing any at the moment.
Yep.
Exactly. And they have that conversation where he is definitely trying to get in her pants. It's like he's trying to definitely white knight himself.
I mean, it
what
worked
was the-
once. Why not twice?
Yeah, that's right. Well, Amorata, wasn't the line that he said is like, "Why'd you choose Greg? You know, I liked you too."
Yeah.
Oh, God,
It's
something like that. God. Simp 101.
It was. This is where I was like, this guy needs to die in this movie immediately, and the ending ruined it for me. Literally, he was not supposed to be alive, but he did not break the number one rule of surviving a horror movie, which is never ever have sex. He didn't break it. He was he was alive.
He did.
Yeah, he totally did.
He and
Oh,
Jay
that's-
have sex.
Yeah.
That's right. I'm an idiot.
And at the end, it's alluded to the fact that he was trolling around trying to find a prostitute in order to give it to her.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Yeah.
I'm an idiot again. I literally watched this yesterday. Holy shit, I'm an idiot. Okay.
Wow, man.
Well, that's
Well,
what you get in
anyway,
this.
so after Paul
That's
is
what you get with,
categorically getting
with
turned
that.
down for the 1,000th time, probably
Yeah.
since he's known Jay. He sets up the whole plan. He's like, remember where we first kissed? It was at the old pool. And so that's when they have the long walk there through Detroit, setting up the juxtaposition between the two
Why did
sides
I
of the
blank
city.
out? I'm sorry to interrupt you. Why did I blank out on that?
I
Realistically,
don't
it wasn't that good a scene. So
know. Yeah.
I'm shocked. Never mind. I'm oh my god. Sorry.
It's
Sorry,
kind
guys.
of pipital to the ending of the
It
film.
is, and
I mean, it
it
is
so
important
annoys
to the end
me.
of the film. It's
It
just
so
not
annoys me.
good.
Yeah. Because I didn't like the ending.
Mhm.
That's why I blocked it out. I watched this
I actually
yesterday and I
really enjoyed
blocked
the
it
ending,
out.
but- we'll get
Never
I mean, the
mind. Oh,
ending worked, but there's just too much. I'm too old for the teenage drama shit.
No.
That's fair. I guess. So, like I said, while they going to the pool, and I'm really sorry for interrupting you. While they're going to the pool, this is where they gave the shots of the dilapidated, past the 8 Mile kind of in Detroit, disheveled and really scary. By the way, the first time I've actually seen that shot was a Top Gear. Do you know Top Gear, guys?
Yeah.
Oh, I love Top Gear.
Yeah. When Top Gear was Top Gear, they actually went into Detroit with three muscle cars, and they went through those places, those houses. I've seen those houses before, not particularly those houses, but you can see in the show, you're like, holy, is this real? Is this as abandoned as it is? Yes, it is.
Really is.
Yes, it is. It's
depressing.
It's a dead city, like a dead city. And it's very, very frightening.
What was so surprising with that is that Clarkson was driving in the GT
the
500
Ford GT 500, yes.
that he used to own, and that's like now like a $1.2 million car.
Yeah.
It's like, don't pull over.
Yeah, no, don't.
No.
Just keep driving, and if anybody stops in front of your car, run them down because it's gonna be cheaper to fix the car.
Yep.
So they set up this elaborate thing where everything is connected to the power, and they think this is how they're going to do it because they know. Yeah, because they know they can't shoot it dead, even though they kind of do at the end. But I, again, didn't understand it and didn't quite like the plan. I get what they're going for. Okay.
This is a payoff to Amorata. Remember what they were one of
Yeah,
the horror
that.
films they were watching before, Overloaded.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes.
The setup
Yes.
and payoff. So
I know, but I just
I
as
had
a
issues with the
plan.
physics of it because you drop one of
Yeah,
those in the water,
that's
it
what
ain't
I'm
gonna do
going
shit.
for.
Mhm.
I understood why they did it. I just didn't get why did they think it would work.
And
Right.
Mitchell actually wrote about this because he wrote, "This is how they would think because they're young adults. They wouldn't understand the concept of the true physics that would be involved in order to electrocute something
So he
of
thinks
that,
young adults are
the voltage
stupid?
involved." Yeah,
Yes.
essentially.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, to be
Plus,
fair,
I mean, some are, but not all of them are that dumb.
yeah, not all of them. But
And realistically, it's not even just young adults. There's a lot of, adults that would
Yes.
think that this might work. So I guess
I-
in the end,
all I thought was like,
because-
there's too much. My mind was like, there's too much water to get
Yes.
electrocuted.
yep,
yes,
to carry the current.
it's like unless they're figuring something out to knock all those things in at once.
I mean, I barely
not
made
gonna
it through
work.
hie school, and I know that would not work.
Right. And I will give him credit in that he made sure it didn't work in the movie, because there are a
Mhm.
lot of full-grown adults who would think it would work. So
Yeah.
I give that props, because too many people would be like, "Oh, well, why isn't that working? It should work." And I'm like, "No."
Yeah.
What?
I know. So we're a situation where we get to finally not see the entity come in. When the entity comes in, Jay's in the middle of the pool, and she's like, "It's right there."
There.
And because it's like a really wide shot of everything, and you can see from one end to the other, because you can see Paul on one end. I'll flash it up on the screen. You can see Paul on one end, you can see Jay in the middle, and you can see either Yara or Kelly on the other side. So you can see a wide shot, and you can see Jay kind of points to the middle. It's like, it's right there, and they're both like, where? And
Where?
Yara's like, where is it? And until it starts kind of having some sort of an action where it starts to throw these electrical devices in, you don't get the measure of where it actually is. And then it cuts to you can see the entity picking up stuff and throwing it at Jay.
Which, by the way, it calls back to what Jeff said about the entity. It will come after you. It's more intelligent than you think it is. So, like, it wouldn't go in the water. It's just like, no.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it's not that much more intelligent, because I mean, it would know that it can't be electrocuted at that point. But whatever.
Yeah. And we get Paul shooting at Yara,
Mm-hmm.
because at least he can
Wings
aim.
right in the leg.
Yeah.
At least, yeah.
At least he can aim a little bit. And the second time around, I'm such an idiot. I actually counted the number of bullets that he shoots. He doesn't shoot more than 6.
Ah, well, that's good.
Yeah. Usually in movies, it kind of goes past, because you kind of half expect to not see them reload and use the gun properly. No, actually shoots, I think it's 2 shots around Yara, hits her once, and then when he shoots at the pool, you can see that like sort of bullet time bullet where it wasn't supposed to happen, but movie. So we see 1, 2, and then the hit right at the head, and then the blood kind of spatters all over the place.
Right.
Again,
plus the one shot right before when they cover it with the blanket.
yes. He gives it 1 shot. So there's 6 shots overall. Where is it? Yeah, I think this is YouTube safe, right? It's like colored red water.
It just looks like color red water. Yeah.
Yeah. And it kind of spreads. And you mentioned this before. It kind of seems like it's trying to get out of the pool and actually chase Jay.
Mm-hmm. And what's really fun is that she's the only one who sees it.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And at this point, you're like, is it over? Sort of like the Mr. Smith kind of Is it over?
Mhm.
And you don't get the look back saying, no, it isn't, or yes, it is. Keeps it ambiguous and good. And then we have the scene that I blanked out, I guess, where
They
Mr.
hook up.
Mr. Simpy Boy and Jay kind of hook up. And it seems a little bit out of the blue, right?
Mhm.
And then you get to see the scene where Paul is looking for hookers. And I was like, okay, but he doesn't stop. Maybe that's
Nope.
why I blanked it out. It doesn't, there's no interaction between Paul and those hookers, or we are led to believe maybe it wasn't,
Yeah, I
but we
think it's
don't know.
more kind of they're alluding to it. The same thing with Jay and the guys on the boat. You
Mhm.
don't see anything happen. Your mind just automatically just assumes. Your mind just puts two and two together. It's like, oh, okay.
To me, now that I think about it, I think if Paul would have done that, it would have been stupid because those hookers are just there out in the street. They will get hit immediately by the entity, and then it will just come after Paul.
Right back down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right back down the chain. Where
Well, you sleep with enough of them.
Then we get to see Yara discuss the idiot
Mhm.
again. What the fuck was that phone, or was it a
Oh,
phone?
Yeah, what
She
is
ref-
that?
She always referred to it as her clamshell. It was actually it's supposed to be an e-reader,
Yeah, it was
like a tablet, like an e-reader tablet.
like
Interesting. Like
sort
a
of
Kindle,
like
but
a Kindle.
Yeah.
a
But
special.
I've never seen that because
Uh-uh.
it has two screens. There's a moment where you can see the two screens. It's
Mhm.
literally one screen goes to the other, but there's a split in the middle because you have to close the fucking clamshell, right? It's not really practical. It's practical if it's an old kind of DS game, right? But not for. I don't think it's good for. Yeah,
It wouldn't be enough space for reading for me. I mean, there's
exactly.
just
Not.
I read too
I'm
fast
not an
for it.
ebook guy anyway, so. But yeah, it seems like a bit kind of a weird thing. Again, we're not as young as them, but whatever.
That's true.
Then we have the last shot where you said about the red color. Now I think that's the entity behind them.
Yeah, the one slowly again following them.
Not the gardener or the
Mhm.
guy who's raking the leaves,
Yeah.
who also wears red. The
Mhm.
guy in the jacket that has just the red, the sort of like the lining,
Red
I
lining.
guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's basically, you can see this shot and then you see them from the back, which means you might see the entity's point of view, and then it cuts off, it follows, credits, we're done. And like I said, the ending kind of weak sauce for me. Kind of weak sauce personally for me.
I mean,
Um,
I do like that it leaves off on that because I do prefer my horror movies not to have happy endings, necessarily. But it does leave off into that whole, uh, it's not over feeling that you get. So
yeah.
That's what I
Sort of.
really enjoyed. It was the ambiguity of the fact that we don't know, and it could still be out there, and there's no way to know until it's far too late.
I think what I didn't like is not the ambiguity. The ambiguity, yes, fine, fits with the sort of like the horror trope. It's the fact that it's Paul that she chose.
he just doesn't like Paul.
I don't like Paul.
You know, like
I'll be honest.
I just
was
don't like the
watching
character.
movie,
Maybe it's
and
that.
I had to wonder, would it transfer girl to girl?
That's really interesting.
Oh.
Amorata, the director has writer and director has stated yes, it can transfer via same-sex interaction.
Interesting.
Interesting.
So it doesn't matter as long as you're having some form of intercourse. or
Mhm.
basically, I think it's just basically genital to genital.
Yeah, it's
It will
fucking
transfer.
scissoring. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, that's the only way. It's not intercourse; it's literally outer course.
Yeah, right.
Speaking about clam and stuff. Oh, stop, stop,
You know, the clam
stop.
was pink.
The clam was pink. The clam was pink. Correct. Correct. Cool. Summarization. We've said everything we had to say. I think, again, for me, it's just maybe just the pick of what was left. So there's a final girl, but there's also a final boy, maybe. That kind of didn't fit for me.
Mhm.
Like the ambiguity throughout the movie. Did I or did I not write you a message? You've seen it. I know you've seen it a little bit later because you're very busy throughout the week. It's
Yeah.
like, please don't let this be a fucking STD allegory. And then I was like, yeah, this. As soon as I wrote it,
STD
it's like
allegory.
it's an STD allegory. Fuck it.
Mhm.
Well, again, Mitchell had to utilize that as a way for it to actually continue to have further victims down the road, because otherwise it would have killed its original victim, and then that's the
Be
end of
done with
it.
it. Yeah.
It would be very similar to, remember we said the word entity many times, is Amorata. Have you ever seen The Entity?
Possibly, but you would have to give me more information because I'm bad at
Oh,
titles.
it's so fantastic. It's like basically this haunted spirit is haunting this woman, n- nearly sexually assaults her on many occasions. It's a very off-putting film, but it has kind of the same kind of similar score. Really like
Mhm.
very 80s synth. There is dur,
It
dur, dur, dur.
Yeah.
is that I've heard the name, but I definitely haven't seen it. Is that a Korean or American film or
American film.
Japanese?
It's an American film.
Okay.
It's a
I'll check it out. I'll check
fantastic
it out.
movie. It's such a
I'll
good
check it out.
movie, and it's very unnerving as well.
It
Okay.
sounds familiar. It's just I've seen so many that sometimes, they start to blend together and you get
Yeah.
lost.
And really, in The Entity, it's only about the interaction between the woman and the entity, and that's
Mm.
pretty much the entire story.
Oh,
Okay.
I mean, you talk about the fact that the writer's saying that it's about his dreams and the entity chasing him in his dreams, and we've seen that before where it continues to spread. It's called Nightmare on Elm Street,
Yep.
where the
Yep.
knowledge of it is what keeps it spreading. So there are ways he could have done it without the STD factor, but
That's
it
fair,
is
yeah.
a new way to do it as well, especially when you consider our current cultural location and everything. It does have something to say without necessarily coming out and saying it, which is something horror movies has done forever. Is
Mhm.
making some kind of vague, well, not necessarily vague, but some kind of moral point without really trying to necessarily make the moral point.
That's true.
If it was a Hitchcock movie, it would have done the same. Maybe done the STD allegory without actually having people having sex. Maybe it was
Mhm.
just like a bare skin touch. So like
Yeah.
skin to skin touch where you can just like, most of the time people are dressed when they're in some sort of interaction. Even on the beach where they had the where the entity came in and scooped her by the hair, there were not just out and about with the bikini. There was a bikini, but she was covered, right?
Mhm.
Most of the time they were covered, except for the points where she was running away from the pool or going into the to maybe hook up with those guys, or she escaped the room. She was already in sort of like night clothes, and she sat on the park like swing, basically not half naked, but she was with her underwear ish,
Right.
right?
See, and
Most
the
of
only
the
thing,
time they were dressed,
the only
so
thing I was
bare
thinking of,
skin touch could have been.
the only thing I can think of is that's almost impossible to recreate, because you would eventually have those sorts of interactions. Imagine if that person were to be walking around on a New York
Shaking hands.
subway, just
Yeah, touching everybody.
because that person would touch somebody else, would touch somebody else, and touch somebody else. So the stream would go way too long, where it would kill the
Mhm.
suspense whatsoever, because you wouldn't have a protagonist at all in the film.
Yeah, but
I
if
mean, you
you're
could
no, go
I'm
ahead.
thinking.
do
Sorry.
you could do that kind of thing if you were like if you had someone who or if you used the point of view of a person who was extremely phobic and they wore gloves most of the time and then they happened to get it because of whatever required them to do a skin to skin contact with somebody
Yeah.
else,
Yeah.
you could set it up
That could
that
work.
way. But I'm going to be honest, if for me when you have to look at a movie about you have to look at anything from the lens of when it's made. And part of what I think makes this movie so scary and suspenseful for other people and not necessarily for me is partly because of when it's made. That sexual interaction that is so hyped up in our current culture is a very vulnerable point.
Mhm.
So now you have somebody who's literally using it to protect themselves from something they got from somebody else. I mean, it is very on the nose STD, but at the same time, it's attacking a point where people have a tendency to not think of how vulnerable they are at that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. Good. All right, cool. That was basically it. All right. Before we kind of go into our final moment spiel, we have a small little thing that we try to do every single podcast, which is called the short version of the movie. We have it made. It is very short. Hold. I have to set it up. And we go into cinematic mode. And here we go. This is the short version of It Follows.
Okay, here we go. The short version.
Pick a person that you'd want to trade places with. They can be anyone for whatever reason.
You're not gonna believe me. And I need you to remember what I'm saying.
Hey, you've never seen the woman before.
I am Lazarus, come from the dead, come back to tell you all.
Do you remember the time that we found those porno magazines?
Open the door and we'll figure this out. There's nothing out here.
See? Everything's okay.
If it kills her, it gets me. It goes straight down the line to whoever started it.
Oh my God! Please help me! Jay, what is it?
I could...
No.
I just walked in the room. It's right there.
It's here?
Right there.
Cool.
Yeah.
That was
That
it.
was a short version.
Could have been more, but you know, it's really hard with the copyright system on YouTube. Last week I couldn't even do one of the it just struck down about six or seven versions of the short version of Texas Chainsaw Massacre.
Shit.
Yep.
Seriously?
Couldn't have it even on the show.
It's because of all
wow.
the legal issues behind.
Yeah.
Well, it does have a lot of legal
and
now.
and
I
we
was really
we kind
disappointed
of
to miss
discussed that on the show, and it was really frustrating. And I was like, yeah, and feeling was like, yeah, I guessed as much. This movie has a lot of problems. Let me tell you all about those. So that was our show, ladies and gentlemen. Next week, I mentioned this. We're going to watch Reanimator and talk about it with our a good buddy, Little Fisticuffer, and a friend, which is a new thing. Great. So go watch Reanimator. Come back to us next week, same time, same hour. Until then, yes, I haven't forgot it. Don't worry. If you want to interact with the show, please at me on Twitter. DMs are open at Meffistoe or at Meffistoe79 on Instagram if you like to use that. If you want, you can email the show at the Reel McCoy podcast at gmail.com. And of course, our lovely guest, Horror Amorata. You can follow her at Amorata on Twitter. You can definitely definitely follow her on Twitch, where she does all sorts of gaming stuff, twitch.tv/horrorarmorata. And she is going balls deep in Rumble. And you can find her on this link. I will add that link, and all the links are in the description down below. You can check those out. And until next week, thank you, Horror Amorata, for joining us.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
Was awesome. Thank you. And you guys out there, have a spooky month, because it's going to be fun next week. It's going to be really fun next week.
Happy Halloween.
Have a good weekend.